Jason.
Sean.
All right. We were a couple minutes in and we just decided to start the recording because it was getting juicy. You're in northern Arizona. Tell me what are some of these adventures?
So the town I'm in, or I'm like 5 miles outside of town called Colorado City, which we were just talking about. The closest like real, I guess, town would be like St. George, which is
Yeah.
just about like as southwest as you can get in Utah. Um, and then Cedar City's like maybe an hour and 15 away, hour 30.
How far are you from like the Escalante National Monument?
So I was in Escalante last weekend. So that's where I'm heading out that way this weekend as well. So it's been awesome. My last and Sean, I never feel like I'm bragging to you because you've done so much more shit than me. So my last
Let
three
it rip.
weekends was I went to the Grand Canyon, and then
Did you do rim to rim to rim?
so I did rim to rim to rim, and that came out a little over 50 miles, which was amazing. I did like a kind of like alternate route last year, which was like a 50K. And I was like, shit, I got to get out there. And like, it was kind of on my way. I was leaving Tucson.
Look at your smile. This shit juices you up.
I mean,
I wanted to go there. I had to go to that Darren's wedding. That's
yeah.
dope. I'm gonna just interrupt you a bunch.
Yeah, of course.
Like it. Are you in just great shape right now? Because we're gonna be living together soon, and we're gonna get after it.
So the unfortunate thing is, like, Sean, when we talk, we were just saying it's been a little while since we talked, which is like for us is like I don't know how long, like 3 weeks, a month. But I was in I feel like I'm in pretty good shape, but I as soon as I got out here, I was living in Tucson last month, and it's just like I was just like a kid in a candy shop. Like I just couldn't stop like running and stuff. And I ended up overdoing a little bit, and like my IT band's a little sore right now. So I'm just trying to, take it easy, for now. But I kind of always have something I'm like planning to. So I did the rim to rim, and I was like, well, shit, it went really well. My IT band was feeling okay after that. So I was like, all right, well, what this all was kind of been leading to is doing the Zion Traverse, which is part of it's closed now, but it's at this point, it's a 37-mile traverse through Zion National Park. And I was like, all right, I'll do it out and back. I'll make it, like a 75-mile, like in 24 hours of everything on my back, self-supported or unsupported. And then my IT band has been acting up, and I'm like, and I also went to Zion. There's about like 3 feet of snow. Still,
hey, I'll tell you.
Points.
I'll tell you the first time I went, I went to Arizona, right? Sunny, beautiful, sunny. I know that's Utah, but the desert, beautiful sun was with Gertz. And dude, we went down. We were gonna do a nice hike in the Grand Canyon. We came through the north side in January, 40 miles out. The road's barricaded. They're like, dude. So just to stop you for a second, for those that don't know, me and Jason both live where we move every so often, I'll say. That's a fair way to put it. So we always have kind of like little pit stops here and there. I just got back from Hawaii. I'm here at my dad's house just for 2 weeks seeing the fam, Jason, and then I'll pick up Emma. We're gonna go to Montana and then meet you up in Canada to do some skiing. And
I didn't know you're going to Montana. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got some stuff to catch you up on too.
Yeah, seriously.
Dude, so the Zion Traverse, I'm sorry that didn't happen. Is it rescheduled, and can I be a part of the reschedule?
Yeah, I mean, so I leave here. The last weekend is like the first week of March. It's like March 2nd or 3rd or something like that. And I'm contemplating just going out and backpacking it at this point and making it into like a weekend and do a few like just long days, and probably some nights as well. But you're more than welcome. I don't know how much I need to get out there again to see what the snow level is like. But you're more than welcome to.
I got some time for that stuff. That's important. So you're obviously, again, for those that don't know, obviously a big hiker. I don't like calling you an ultra runner because I feel like
I'm not, yeah.
yeah, I mean you've done some hundred stuff like that, dude. I got into the long distance through really, I like backpacking. I hope I was an influence on you getting into backpacking, and then you took it to running and got me into running. Really, I think that's how it happened. Like,
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. And I think Sean mentioned, so the reason why, we live a very similar lifestyle in terms of just kind of bouncing around. As Sean says, we have to keep it moving. And and just for everyone's kind of reference here, the reason that happened is he called me. I could, if I look back in my calendar, I could pick out the exact day, but he called me in September 2020, and I was about to go backpacking that weekend, and just by myself, which is the usual. And he kind of convinced me to see with work, with things being remote because of the pandemic, see if I could start moving around. And I had liked backpacking, I had liked running before, but once I got out to an area that's a little different than like DC, a little more mountainous or desert like, whatever, maybe that's when it really all started in terms of starting to run and backpack as much as I could.
you say mountain and desert, like those are what you chase. I mean, I know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly.
As we're sitting here talking, I have a rag under my desk. I'm dealing with, dude, when you ran the 100 miler out in Utah and my foot, a year ago started hurting. In Hawaii, right before we left, Jason, I did like a 20-mile run with a new pair of shoes, dude. That same foot injury. So I'm strengthening my arch. My PT's got me strengthening my arch.
Good. I'm glad to hear, because I'm sorry to hear that it hurts, but I mean, I remember that in Utah, and it had been an issue when we lived together in Bend, Oregon, and it was just like a continuing issue. And the funny thing is, and this is like the most Sean thing ever, he would try on new shoes, and each time it hurt him, and he just he's like, these are the only shoes that don't hurt. And it was some pair of like, I don't know, if I guess maybe they're running shoes, but they're like 3 years old. He's like, yeah, I think I have about 3,000 miles on these shoes. Like, those are the only ones that worked.
Jason, those are the ones I ran the 50K in Tahoe in. And they're like, they're flattened down, but so I bought new ones when we were in Tahoe. They were the Brooks Bedlam 3s. And so I bought new ones, and then I bought the Brooks Adrenalines because they're super similar. And hey, this is a plug for Brooks, I guess. But I then when I was in Hawaii, I was running on that lava rock, and I needed a sturdy pair of shoes, and I went to go buy another one, and I bought a pair of Asics, and then I returned them because I just got serious foot pain. Bought a pair of Sauconys, dude, the same Sauconys that you have.
Peregrine.
Yeah, the Peregrine. Not the trails though, because I don't do trail shoes.
Yeah.
And then I just got back to these Brooks Adrenalines, so they rock for me. But I have a marketing company. Jason knows Greenspan Consulting. We try to work with like wellness companies and expand their impact, and it's cool because Jason, I have two prospects right now. One, you should check them both out. One's called Features, but like feet. The other one's called Lasso. So Lasso is saying that they took the technology in KT tape and put it into socks, and they say that their socks fix your tendons. It's $55 for a pair of socks right now, so they're expensive. But they just sent me a pair. I'm gonna take a run after this, and this is my first time wearing them. I'm excited.
Dude, let me know. That's amazing. So Features and Lasso.
Yeah, Features. I still don't know. I asked them what their unique competitive advantage was, and I basically got that it's like just like the best sock, like in every way. I'm like, that's cool. I'm looking for like a little more specifics. So I guess I just need not their fault. I just need to do a little more research. But that's
really cool. I was gonna say, I know Emma's like she's been like published in articles for KT tape, so I'd like to hear what she thinks about it, but that's really cool. I'd like to see those for sure.
For the, it's yeah. I actually reached out to them because I was looking for my foot. It was actually my brother. Shout out Jeffrey. He was like, Sean, I mean, it's obvious, but the way that you look at training is the way you need to look at recovering. Because basically, what I did was my foot hurt, maybe like a 4 or 5 out of 10 was the pain, Jason. Not bad, as you know, you keep it going. So I just kept it going. I just was like, okay, I'll just, it'll go away eventually. I'm young and in shape. And now it's been almost 12 months. So it's only stopped me from really one run ever. And we won't talk about that run on this call because you were, you were there. Actually, we will talk about it because you want to talk about like a phone call you remember. It was probably February 4th, 2020. COVID hit. I was down in Florida with Emma's family. I was down on the beach in Florida. And Jason was month 1 into living this. And this man's wild. Month 1. And he calls me. He's like, Sean, so I signed up for a 100-mile race. And at this time, neither of us had done any ultra running or anything. I'm like, good luck, I guess. And he's like, well, I could use a pacer, someone to like, run with me and set the pace. And I was like, cool. And I was like, tell me about it. And he's like, well, this is Jason's nice way of asking, well, they can join like at the halfway point or any point after, but like generally at the halfway point. And I'm just like, oh, casually, someone can run 50 miles with me. And that was in Utah. What was that? The Buffalo Run?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I like the change between your first 50 and the last 50. This race was 250-mile loops. You ran the first, I don't know how fast you did, but you were shirtless because it was 50 and sunny.
Dude, it was snowing at one point. People on the second loop, I don't want to cut you off, but
cut me off.
I think I know where you're getting at. I ran the first 50 in about 9 hours, which
it's very fast, you could say
it's fast for someone like me. And I
for
ran
100,
yeah, looking back on it, maybe I should have slowed down a little bit, but really, I ran that first 50 in 9 hours, and the second 50 around mile 47 or so, I started to feel like shortness of breath, and it was not a great feeling. It definitely kind of caused some anxiety, and anyways, it wasn't great, but in 3 miles I could pick up Sean as my pacer, and I'd see like my whole family was there, which was great. And Sean's girlfriend Emma was there, and she like taped up my feet and used the massage gun on me while I laid down, which was awesome. Anyways, what Sean was getting to is that last 50 is really brutal. Usually you want to have like, if you go 9 hours in the first half, hopefully you can get like 10 or 11 hours in the second 50. My second 50 was pretty much a death march because I couldn't really breathe too well. And
that's to say that
yeah, Sean saw all the, I was like hallucinating. Sean saw all of me kind of just acting delusional, like stumbling along the trail. Anyways, the second 50 took me 15 hours, 15 and a half maybe. It took over 24 hours, and it was a good experience, but it was tough not being able to breathe for what felt like like days after, and that whole time as well.
Well, yeah, man, and just bringing it full circle, I tapped out. I started halfway and tapped out before you finished because of my foot. That's the only, Jason. That is what. So that's what lit the fire under me to run the 50K with you in Tahoe and train hard and not just like try to compete, right? And then we did, and then when I did the 50 miler, well, I paced 50 miles for you when you did 100 miles in Virginia. I went home and told my family I was done running it, and that same night I signed up and paid for the 50 miler in Wisconsin because
I love that.
It's like, all right, this is what I like is diving into why, and I do know why you like to run these, Jason. But I don't want this to feel like a repetitive conversation for us. I think the why is always changing. I think you get more perspective on the why as you and we're talking about why we're, me and Jason both enjoy challenging things, right? Like I hate even bringing up something about an ultra marathon or like I thought I was wearing the sweatshirt of the 44-mile hike we did.
Yeah.
I was wearing it earlier today, because everyone's questioning, why do you do that? Right. And it's like the worst, most annoying question, but, talk a little bit about like, what drew you to it for the first time, because now I'm addicted, but I think, most people don't, aren't at that spot, right, where they get addicted to it. Like, what drew you to it for the first time?
Yeah, so everyone's story of how they get into ultras is so different, and that's what makes, I'll call it a sport. That's what makes a sport fun. And really it's cool to meet those, where you kind of have that, environment where everyone comes from a different background, different place. Some people seek it out because they've had like a loss in a family, or they've had issues with drugs. For me, it was kind of a different experience. I signed up for my first marathon the date was March 26th, 2020. So as you can know, when I signed up, I didn't know the world was going to shut down. So I trained for it, and it inevitably got canceled. So
that was right away.
yeah. And still to this day, the hardest, I feel like the most mentally challenging and honestly physically challenging training was for that first road marathon. And that was going to be the DC Rock and Roll Marathon in DC, which I've heard awesome things about. Anyways, it gets canceled, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm all trained up for this. I'm just going to run my own route and do a marathon. And I have a bad tendency of right before races, I'll go ahead and look, what else is possible? I feel like I'm trained this much. What else is possible? So after that, I was like, well, there's something called a 50K, I guess. I'd never heard of that before. It's like, it's only what, like 5 more miles or something, 6 more miles. So I went out the day the marathon was supposed to be and ran a 50K by myself. And from there, it just kind of snowballed, 50K into 50 miler into a couple hundreds. And it really just turned into what am I capable of? How hard can I physically and mentally push myself? So I'll stop there because I can keep rambling, and I can get to the why as well in just a second.
Well, yeah, and feel free to share what you want. What's interesting to me is the fact, I don't even know how to say it, because the physical like the feelings, like the emotions that you go through. What I'll tell you, what I liked was, I guess I started getting into it because I really did enjoy running. I really enjoyed backpacking. And there's two things that I realized when I would run and I would backpack. So backpacking, you're going on long hikes. There's beauty to it. You get exercise. You get see cool shit. It's not always, everything's not always convenient. It's not always the temperature you want, the weather you want. You might have bugs, mud, whatever, things that could bother you, but there's also beauty to it. I used to think the same thing about running. At the time, Jason, I was living in Wisconsin, right on Lake Michigan, and there was just like a flat path along the lake. And it was just perfect for speed, just trying to run fast, 3, 4, 5 miles, something. And, both running and backpacking, I realized that at the exact same moment in time, I could make it sound like I was having a miserable time or a euphoric time, right? There were times backpacking, I was sitting on the edge of a remote, alpine lake in Colorado with your brother, which that sounds great. It was also like 25 degrees and windy and freezing, and somebody messed up and we didn't have quite enough food to eat. But again, that's nonetheless, it's training your brain, and we don't need to get down the neurological route, but it trains your brain to focus on like the positive in life. Because there's one thing that's a fact: everything does have a positive side to it and a reason behind it. I'm not saying it outweighs the negative, because a lot of things don't, right? I think the common thing that people might like reflect on that is like, oh, someone passes away, right? I'm not saying the positives outweigh the negatives, but maybe it gives you time to reflect on yourself. And it, it's like, it's a traumatic event and makes you and your family reflect, right? Again, it's not overweighing that negative, but it is that there is, some silver lining, if you will. Similar with running, right, Jason? At the end of that 100-mile run, I know these two things are true. You've never felt more alive in your life, and you've never felt as much pain as that. So, in the same moment, dude, David Goggins has this quote. He said when his first 100-miler, he lived 10 years of emotions in one race. And I was like, that to me, I mean, even now, the hair on my arm stand up, I'm like, that's life. You get to do more. And I don't know. It seems to, and then once you start, that's something else. Once you start, what kind of impact do you feel, man? Like, I kind of feel like I've always been a little like wound up. I feel a little calmer, like overall, after putting myself through things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. As you know, I grew up with an Aussie, and if you don't take the Aussie out, because there's such high energy, and I'm sure if you're listening to us now, you can tell I'm not really a high energy person. I'd like to think I'm pretty even keel, but anyways, if you don't take an Aussie out, they're just going to be a freaking menace. And I mean, same for me. If I don't go out and get like my fulfillment of the outdoors and exercise or weightlifting, whatever it may be for that given day, I can feel myself not being as good of a place mentally. But I guess to kind of pull it back and answer, the why of kind of why I enjoy running, or I don't even like putting it as running. I think it's more of like venturing, because for me, like the whole trail running and backpacking kind of are starting to really, really blend together, more so than before. And in that sense,
That's a good thing, Jason.
Yeah. And what my goals are for this year. But uh, that said, I mean, it really is about, if you have the opportunity to get outside each day and surround yourself with beauty. I'm lucky where I can place myself in areas where I know it's like, beautiful around. It really does kind of calm me down. And I think seeing things naturally that are spectacular put things in perspective. Like I always say this, but that first rim to rim run that I did last year, you go down to the Grand Canyon and you hit the bottom where the Colorado River is, and you're seeing rocks that are 2 billion years old, which is, I think the world's like 14 billion years. So it's like a seventh of, how long the world has been here. And you're just like, oh my God, like, how can I think my life is so important, and each little, like presentation is like, going to depend on my entire outcome. How can I think all this is so important with seeing, how I'm just a blimp in the radar, a snap in time. So not to get too existential, but it puts life into perspective, and makes you want to go out there and do as much as you can, and see as much as you can, because your time is so limited and you don't know when things can change.
Yeah, man. You just said something that like struck me, right? Like when you see something, for me, I've never thought of it as like an old rock or something like that. I've thought of it, standing in the mountain range north of Bend, just by a little bit, Bend, Oregon. I'm standing on top of South Sister. So you and all around you is above tree level for a long time. It's kind of like the high alpines in Northern California when we lived outside of Lake Tahoe. And the views you can just see forever, and you can just see so much, and you get awestruck, and how could you feel significant when you see something just so vast and beautiful and open, right? And it's not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. It's like all these little problems that I have are fine, right? Like everything's good, right? That everything on a grand scale is good, right? Don't even worry about that. So taking under the assumption, we're not going to talk about whether everything is positive or everything has a positive side to it, but that's absolutely how I feel, is that everything has some sort of positive side to it. I wanted to bring something up to you, Jason. This is new to you. I've noodled around with the idea that I'm writing a book, right?
Yeah.
So I've come to a title, and the title is going to be Happiness, comma, the ultimate discipline. And the reason is because I feel that every moment to moment, not hour to hour, day to day, moment to moment, you can feel happy if you're disciplined and trained to do that. And I find that putting yourself in there, over and over, challenging yourself, throwing yourself, they say in the fire to like harden a sword, right? That helps you build the muscle of positivity. Does that, and not to just like kind of put you on the spot, but like, does that resonate with you at all? Do you kind of see where that's going, and be candid?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great title, and that knowing you, that title really accurately reflects you. And
thank you.
yeah, and I've thought I've had the opportunity being by myself so much to be introspective in terms of what makes me happy and what makes me tick, and ultimately it does align with discipline in some form. So, and again, I'm gonna just speak from my personal feelings in terms of and then I guess I'll kind of tie together as to how it relates exactly to your title. But I've told you this. Really, when I'm happiest is when I'm training for a big event or race or something like that. My happiness, really, I feel the most happy consistently when, let's say I have a 100-miler, like 2 months out. That means I'm feeling, the need to get out every single weekend and hike and run all weekend, which usually involves like sleeping out overnight
and eat chicken,
eating chicken. I mean, that's really a huge part of it too, though. Eating healthy, sleeping a ton, doing
living
yoga.
by your. Can I interrupt and say, living by your true values and priorities?
Exactly. And what I was getting to there is it takes discipline to do that. It's the easiest thing in the world just to be like, well, I'm running a ton and lifting a ton, so I can just eat Pop-Tarts, and although I love that, it wouldn't, the discipline isn't there. And then ultimately Pop-Tarts do have a negative effect. But yeah, I mean, what I'm getting at is, I feel the happiest when I am, have that, and I don't like using the word strict, because if I cheat for a day or a meal or something like that, that's fine. If you have the urge to do that, it's not a big deal. But living by that strict discipline, at least in the what I feel is like physical, spiritual, and then mental, and mentally, that I guess it primarily revolves around physical aspects, but it does encompass all three and discipline all three aspects to really feel that constant happiness.
Yeah, man. I do. I want to unpack that, so much. You said, I want to ask about being introspective, but first you said you're happiest when you're training for an event.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently had a discussion with my dad about this, which was interesting. He said he interpreted what I do as like, you need achievements, Sean. Like, you need to achieve things to be happy. I almost took that as an insult, which is probably a bad reflection of myself, but I clearly wasn't communicating it, because this is my experience, because I feel something similar, and I want to see if it's the same as yours. It's that it's not the achievement, right? It's that if I'm living towards that achievement, I'm living my happiest life. And then the reason I have to go through that event, right? And let's talk 100-miler. You're sleeping right, you're eating right, you're prioritizing yourself, you're training for that 100-miler, you're getting out and hiking, beautiful trails. That life is your best life. And then the event itself is a measure of how well you're living that life. How disciplined are you to your values, right? That's how I look at it. Because when I hear that, Jason, I'm like, you know, I have you're much more, you've done a lot more cool like hikes and long runs and stuff like that, and a lot more to pat yourself on your back. My real one that I'm proud of was training for the 50K in Tahoe. Like at the time I was the person you were making fun of, right? Like, I ate kind of healthy, but I ran a bunch, lifted a bunch, ate whatever. I ate fried chicken as frequently as possible. And that was the first time I felt like I combined, sleep training, food, and it was like noticeably one of the happiest I've been in my life. And that I for myself did well on that race and felt good. And like
Really well.
that's well, I knew there were electrolytes, so no, that was the best. You honestly, you gained more from that than me, because going through cramping for the back half of an ultra marathon can't be fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Little change
So,
of top. Oh, go.
well, not to cut you off, but yeah, I just, for me, I mentioned the training, and that's what really, it's always been the process for me. And I told you this, we'll see if it comes true. But after that 100 that, you paced the last 50 for me in September, I told you, I was like, I'm not running another ultra for a year. And I still don't really have a desire to, because I ran 2 100s, and the first one, as I said, the last 50 miles were like a death march. I wasn't necessarily happy with how it went.
Yeah.
It was awesome to finish, but I wasn't, I knew I could have performed a lot better. So I was like, all right, I'll sign up for this next one. And I finished that one up. And I did, I'd say solid. And, but in both cases, I kind of felt empty after. There wasn't a feeling of like, yes, like there was definitely a feeling of like, yes, it's done, but it wasn't like, okay, now you can chill. It wasn't any type of feeling of like good job. It was honestly just it was an empty feeling, and that's why I'm still trying to figure out my why. But beyond that, I guess really my favorite point was training for all that. Like, it wasn't the event itself, and it really, for me, it wasn't until like the true process of training for me it wasn't until a week or so, or 2 weeks or so, until the event, that I really realized, okay, this is what I'm training for. I was just enjoying where I was in the moment.
That's awesome, man. That's a good story, and it's a good reflection. It makes me think of The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Did you read that book? I can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, I've heard you mention it a few times. I have
You
not
didn't
read
read
it.
You fucker. Read the book, Jason. It's 200 pages. Oh my God.
Okay.
Run like 30 less miles this week and read a book. He talks about The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. Dan Millman was an Olympic gold medalist he was at gymnastics. And he had a little guru that was like, like a philosopher guy, old guy working at a little garage service station. And basically, Dan talked about how one of the lowest points of his life was after he got his gold medal, because he was coming to a close in college where he was, he had a bunch of girlfriends that were good looking. He was getting good grades, but he didn't really care about the ladies, didn't really care about the classes he was taking. And all he was trying to do was achieve. And okay, you're a gold medalist for gymnastics. You did it. That's as good as it gets. You could do it again, and he wasn't happy. So he said he just plummeted after that, because he realized like everything that like he put aside his happiness, knowing I'm going to achieve this goal and be happy. And you hear that a lot. You hear it a lot with money, right? Like money's not going to make you happy, So, I think that's pretty interesting. Let me ask about a question kind of about your resilience. So in a month, dude, we're moving together. We're going to live together in Canada.
I know, it's like almost a month to the day.
Yeah. February's short, so I think it's
like
yeah, 4 weeks. Yeah. So we're gonna live in Banff to catch the end of ski season. Jason, I've been there. I know you like to run in the snow. You don't give a shit about the weather. I'm letting you know you will not be able to run there. It will be multiple feet of snow. I don't know if
Yeah.
this I don't know if this is the first time you thought about that, heard that, but considering that our goal was to go there, do tons of skiing, right? Get the season pass. Um, but what do you think about challenging yourself, like continuing to challenge yourself? Like, are you going to take the foot off the gas? Are you and let yourself like relax a little bit? Are you going to push hard at skiing, rock climbing?
Yeah, I know you've been trying to sell me on rock climbing, uh, which I'm interested in. I've always loved doing that. I've got to do a little bit out here, but oh my God, I'm so excited for Banff. I feel like it's been a long time coming. Where last year I was able to skip most of the winter. I lived in Colorado a little bit towards the end of the winter, but uh, I I'm really looking forward to what I'm hoping to do is start backcountry skiing uh, to some capacity, whether it be like touring or even like cross country skiing. But that is like a whole new discipline where, I love running because it's as simple as it gets. You go ahead and you strap on your shoes. You don't need anything else. I mean, you could do it barefoot even if you want, and you just go outside and run. And then backcountry skiing, you have to like be aware of avalanches, how to like save someone, like the proper gear that you need, layering, how to use like skins. There's just so much complexity to it.
And that
And
excites you or no?
oh my God, I can't wait. I mean, like, I've always said, or at least what I've been thinking is like, the more time I get off my feet, like throughout the year and like don't run as much, the longer I'll be able to run. So, and I would like to do this and not even run, just backpack, whatever it might be, hike. So I think backcountry skiing is going to be an awesome way to do that. And it is going to be a huge challenge. And that's why I'm so happy we have this like 2 month block of being there because that's at least enough time for me to figure it out. And Sean, I haven't told you this yet, but once we get to our place, no, this is nothing crazy, but once we get to our place, I'm gonna look at a mountain that's close to our house and be like, all right, we're gonna climb that and ski down at some point. So we're gonna have to figure that out.
See you there. I'm in. It's no, that's gonna be fun. We're gonna have to learn a lot, dude. Like I don't know what type of gear we would need. I thought you were gonna say climb. I was like, climbing's a whole different animal.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
You can get much further than you can climbing than you can skinning.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll see. We're gonna have to start with a few weeks of just getting better at skiing too, but we'll definitely have to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just let you know, I'm very eager to the point where I had like plans completely set up to Mount Wheeler, or I'm sorry, Wheeler Peak is it's in Great Basin National Park, which is on the border of Nevada and Utah, and it's just like this random 13,000 foot peak out of like literally in the desert. And I made plans to go up there this weekend and try to climb up it and ski down. And I was like, what, just wait, you're gonna be in Banff and like you don't need to
Dude,
do that by yourself for the first time.
all right. Well, this is what I like because I teed you up to make you look good, so you're welcome.
Yes.
The goal was I wanted you to like I kind of was asking like, hey man, are you gonna take your foot off the gas or challenge yourself? And you're gonna challenge yourself in a different way. It's gonna be physical because dude, when we were in Oregon and we climbed that mountain like 3 times, and then Oregon's cool because you just drive right down. And I played around a golf after, and I was like, Jason, I'm gonna go golf. We just climbed a mountain for a couple hours. You're like, I'll just keep climbing.
Yeah.
ate a power bar, drank a beer, keep climbing.
Yeah.
So it's good. What I want to do when I'm there is I want to really get really good at skiing fundamentally, and then explore the backcountry when I feel. I mean, we could probably do it in the beginning, but get to a place where I'm like
Yeah.
that. Emma just developed a 4-week ski program that she's been on lateral, like dude, she sent me a video. She had like weight vest on, doing like lateral like lunge jumps. She's trying to make us look bad, Jason.
Oh my.
Um,
She's gonna be
but it
shredding out there.
yeah, but what's cool is I thought what would be like a really good. So this is how we found the rock climbing gym. I thought what would be a really cool sport, not workout, because right now, Jason, my I usually am a basketball player, like to do trail running, and I lift in a fun way to support those. Right now, my life's boring. A lot of jogging, a lot of weightlifting, boring. So I'm trying to get, it's been like almost a month like that. So I'm trying to get back to sports. And that's how we found rock climbing. I'm like, mainly upper body, a lot of strength too. Of course, it's cardiovascular, it's not endurance, but I want to really excel at that as well. So that's going to be, definitely a fun challenge for us.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how you take it on. I mean, with the first 100 I ran, it was just like head down, and we'll be enjoying ourselves doing other things, but it was like head down, like I'm gonna make this one thing my single focus for 3 months, and I'm sure you've done that in other aspects with running, but also with your business, and it's incredible how much you can grow and learn and just develop over that time. So I'm excited to see you do that, because I know once you get hooked on something, like, you're in.
Well, yeah. I think that's everybody if they let themselves express themselves creatively, because that's really, I know you might not think of sport, like some people might not think of sports as a creative expression. They might think guitar. It's not my guitar, by the way. They might think guitar, right? They might think painting, but I think sports I mean, I can confidently say sports are a great creative expression. Think about, like, how I guess like how many options there are, and like to explore it. So I love it, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna dive into. I hope people get inspired to dive into things. Dude, we've been talking for a while. I have one last question. I showed up with no questions. I don't know why we would even do that. We've been boys for a while. We'll just chat.
Yeah.
But I have one question that I wrote down halfway through. It was about introspection. Okay. We live in a society. So, okay, I'm going to give a whole backstory. Sorry, listeners, for this long story. And mainly sorry, you, Jason.
No.
Up until the beginning of World War II, humans lived in a scarcity mindset. And now we're living in an age of abundance, right? So, what I mean by scarcity is anything but from information to food, it was all much more difficult to get. And now we as humans need to run things through a filter, right? Like, it's not about how much information you get. You can literally get anything on your phone right now. Just say, ask Siri, whatever. We need to run everything to a filter and prioritize things in life, and try to figure out what we want to focus on. So with all these things competing for our attention, social media, all that stuff, plus the fact that we're social creatures, right? I generally am living with somebody. I'm talking on the phone quite a bit, consulting and helping companies grow their marketing, or grow through marketing. I want to ask how valuable, and maybe, I don't know whether anything about introspection, how valuable it is, tips and tricks about how to get it, because it's easy for you. I know you call yourself an introvert, and you say it as a joke. I think it's great. I think you prioritize yourself, Jason. I know I feel a pressure internally to chat with people and stay connected, which, there's positives to it too. But I've found that, every day when I go to the gym, every day when I take a run, the cell phone is plugged in face down on my desk. That changed my life. That's a, active introspection, I guess. I know that's what you're chasing a lot, with what you do. I'd love to just, if open it up to you about benefits, what you, I don't know anything about it really, but introspection I think is key.
Yeah, and I think you are very good at being introspective and balancing your life, and you nailed it there, at least. And I guess I should definitely preface it with, by no means am I an expert, but I'm just getting an understanding of it. But you nailed it by putting your phone down while you run or while you work out. you have to make the time for yourself. And like in my life, I live by myself. I'm thousands of miles from anyone I know. It's a lot easier, but still, I've found myself, um, you know, like if I wanted to, I could spend all day with my headphones and just listening to music or listening to podcasts, or when I'm working, just I'm focused on that. So you have to make the time. I mean, I've literally gone weeks of, not really having that introspection because I'm just constantly plugged in. And just to give another example of that, I was lucky and I backpacked the Appalachian Trail for a month this past October, which, as you can imagine, you have a ton of time by yourself, a ton of time to think. And my rule of thumb was, okay, no matter when I start hiking, I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to listen to anything until noon. So usually that would be anywhere, like if I started really early, it'd be anywhere from like 6 hours a day. I'd say a minimum of like 3.5. So that time was like completely my time of just kind of thinking, and hiking is not as intense as like I would say like running, so I don't have to worry about foot placement or anything. I can just let my mind run. And I think, as always, it puts things in perspective for your life, and that's just specifically being on the trail. But also, it kind of lets you evaluate how you see things and why you see things that way. And I kind of, I don't really necessarily take a hard stance on those things. Like politically, I don't really care what you do with your life as long as you're not hurting others. But it lets you really take a view of what your values are and why they are that way, challenging yourself. And you're not going to get that unless you have the time to actually think.
Yeah. You thumbs up. You nailed it, dude. I love it, man. Cool. Well, dude, for people that don't know, episode 1 of this podcast, don't even have a name for it yet. I just knew that you and me were trying to catch up, and I wanted to share your beautiful story and your life with other people. And dude, I love getting the chance to speak with you, Jason. Actually, the reason I really started this was because I wanted to have more frequent conversations with people I like and respect and document them. And if sharing that with the world, I mean, how raw and real can this get? Maybe one day this will be a well-produced podcast, but there's not much going on here, right? I've been taking my own notes. There's no producer in the background.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, dude, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah, dude. Can't wait. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.